If you want to understand what you're feeling, then you have to catch the thought that created them. There are days when you feel off and you really don't understand why. And you know that something has got a hold of you, right? Maybe you feel flat or tense or irritated or just weirdly heavy. Maybe you tell yourself that you're just tired. And maybe you say that you've had a big week. Maybe reach for the usual adult diagnosis, which is just a lot going on at the moment. This is fair, but it's also vague enough to keep you stuck. Because if you cannot name what you are feeling, then you cannot see what's driving it, and you're left with this fog. And when you live in a fog for long enough, then you start treating your emotional life like a weather, something that rolls in, something that happens to you, something that just you have to endure until it passes. This is how a lot of people live, and that's how I lived for a very long time. I was not great at knowing what I felt. I could tell you whether a day was good or it was bad, and I could tell you whether I felt okay or not okay, and that was about it. I didn't have much granularity. I didn't have much language, and I definitely didn't understand the relationship between what I was telling myself and what I was feeling in my body. That changed when I started seeing something really simple. Thoughts create feelings. This is not in some cheesy thinking way. It's not just think better thoughts and manifest a better life kind of way. I mean mechanically, directly, moment to moment. Something happens, you interpret it, and that interpretation creates emotion. And most of the unnecessary suffering is in that middle step. This is the part that people really miss. I know I did. People think their feelings are caused by the event, like the meeting caused the anxiety or the lead up to it. The text message caused the hurt. The criticism caused the shame. The partner caused the anger. No, not exactly. Like the event matters. Of course it does. Reality matters and consequences matter. So I'm not doing that thing where you just pretend life is just a mindset and coconut water. But what you feel is not produced by the event alone. Like it really is produced what the event means to you. And the meaning is carried by thought. That is a big claim here. And once you really see it, there's a lot of things that, really felt random start looking very lawful, very predictable, almost embarrassingly predictable. You send a text, no reply. That's the event. And now watch what happens. Like if the thought is they're probably busy, you feel basically nothing. You move on. If the thought is they're ignoring me, now you feel hurt. You feel annoyed. If the thought becomes I have said something wrong, then anxiety joins the party. Then if it becomes this always happens to me, now there's sadness as well, maybe shame. Like it's the same phone, it's the same silence, the same person. It's just a different thought producing a different feeling. And that is not philosophy, that is your life. Because most of these thoughts happen really quickly and automatically. People never catch them. They just get hit by the feeling and assume that the feeling tells the truth. And that's the trap. A feeling feels authoritative. If you feel anxious, then it feels like danger is present. If you feel ashamed, then it feels like you've done something exposing. If you feel angry, then it feels like a line has been crossed. And if you feel hopeless, then it feels like the future is already settled and it's not in a good way. Feelings are persuasive. They arrive with this strong sense of certainty. They don't tap you politely on the shoulder and say, excuse me, I may be the result of a distorted automatic thought. No, they kick the door in and start rearranging the furniture. That is why this matters. Because if you do not catch the thought, then you try to manage the feeling directly. You avoid the thing. You ask for reassurance. You keep checking your phone. You over-explain. You withdraw. Doom scroll. You eat. You buy something. And you have a third coffee. And you call that resilience. And you do whatever you can to move the feeling. Meanwhile, the thought is created, it's still there, like untouched, like a man setting your house on fire and then helping you fan out the smoke out the window. This is why some very smart people can spend years trying to manage anxiety without ever getting near the engine. Because anxiety is not the engine, the thought is. And here's another part that people miss, like the intensity of the feeling usually matches the severity of the thought, not the event, the thought. For example, let's say that you have to speak up in a meeting, and if the thought is, I hope this goes okay, you might feel some nerves, like fair enough. If the thought is, if I mess up, they'll think I'm not across my job, then the anxiety goes up. And if the thought becomes, if they think I'm not across my job and they lose respect for me, then it's up again. Then if underneath all of that, if people lose respect for me, I become less safe, less valuable, less secure, then your body is now reacting like this meeting isn't a meeting anymore. It's a survival contest with lighting. And that's what happens. And because people do not hear the full sentence in their head, they only feel the pressure in their chest. They think the problem is public speaking or corporate life or their personality. And sometimes it's none of those things. Sometimes it's just one brutal thought chain just running at high speed. And this is where I think a lot of men in particular get caught. So because many men are not trained to notice emotional texture, we get like two categories, don't we? Like fine and not fine. Maybe angry if we're feeling fancy, and we can describe a transmission problem in a car better than we can describe what is happening inside us after a weird conversation with someone that we love. So the emotional system stays pretty crude. You feel something, you do not map it, you act from it. And because you don't understand it, then you either suppress it or you obey it. And neither works especially well. Women get caught here too, and often in different ways. A lot of women would object and say they're very attuned to emotion, but they can still miss the thought layer underneath it. So they feel it vividly, maybe even describe it very well, but treat it if the feeling itself is the deepest truth rather than the result of an interpretation. So it's a very different style, but it's the same trap we're both falling into. Right, so what do you do with this? Here's the takeaway. When you're feeling spike, don't start with a feeling, start with a thought. I think that's the move. That is the skill. That is the practical thing that you want to leave with. Because I think once you can map the thoughts to feelings, then your emotional life starts making sense. Like not all at once, but enough. You stop saying, why am I like this? And you start saying, well, what was I just telling myself? And that's the question that changes everything. Let's make it painfully practical. Imagine you suddenly feel a wave of anxiety. Instead of saying, I am anxious, pause and just ask what went through my mind just then. Not like the official answer, not what sounds mature, not would impress your therapist or your friend, like what actually went through your mind. Slow it down, and maybe it was, I am behind. Maybe it was, they're disappointed in me. Maybe it was, I cannot handle this. Maybe it was, if this goes wrong, it says something bad about me. Now you've got something real. Now you're not floating in emotional soup. Now you have a thought. Then ask, what feeling does that thought create? Usually it becomes obvious. Like, I am behind brings anxiety and pressure. They are disappointed in me brings shame and sadness. I can't handle this brings panic. This says something bad about me brings shame almost every time. That's the map. Thought, then feeling. Not feeling out of nowhere. And if you want one exercise, one thing, one simple practice to start doing this week, it's this. When you feel a noticeable emotional shift, write 3 lines. What happened? What did I tell myself? What did I feel? And how strong was that from 0 to 100? That's it. Don't fix it yet. Don't reframe it. Do not perform growth. Just map it. Understand where you're at, right? Because mapping is the breakthrough. Most people have never done this properly. They've never sat down and seen on paper that they have a thought like, they think I'm useless, that it created a shame spike of 85, or that I'm trapped created anxiety of 70, and anger of 40, and I should be further ahead by now is like quietly poisoning half their week. You start recognizing your patterns like in real time. You start to realize that certain feelings are loyal to certain thoughts. For example, anxiety often follows danger predictions, and shame often follows thoughts about defectiveness or exposure, and anger often follows thoughts about unfairness or boundary violation. Sadness often follows loss. Hopelessness often follows thoughts like nothing's going to change. And now your inner world has some structure. Now it's not just vibes and weather and existential fog. And weirdly, that brings some relief in itself. And it's not because the problem disappears instantly, but because it's understandable, it has shape. There is a huge difference between the pain you understand and the pain that feels random. Random pain makes you feel powerless. The mapped pain gives you somewhere to stand. So if you wanted to leave with one sentence, it would be this. If you want to understand your feelings, catch the thought that created them. That's the work. Not becoming a robot, not suppressing emotion, not pretending that everything is fine, just getting really honest enough and precise enough to see what your mind is doing. Because a lot of suffering survives in the vagueness. The more foggy it is, the more powerful it feels. And the moment you catch the thought, the fog starts to lift. And once it lifts, you're no longer just having a feeling anymore. You're now starting to understand the machinery that made it. If this hits something for you, try the exercise today. Like not tomorrow when you're all calm and reflective and suddenly very wise. Do it in the middle of something, in the middle of your crisis. Catch one emotional shift. Write down the thought. Rate the feeling, see what happens. That one move can change how you understand yourself. And honestly, for a lot of people, this is the first time their inner world starts making any real sense. Give it a try. That's all for today. See you in the next one. Chris out.